6:06. It's a good sporting, especially football phone in. If you no, Tony's looking at me blankly. Anyway, we mentioned Richard Brandt before the news at 6, and he's a long-serving member of Douglas and District, and he was honoured at a special match last weekend. It was his 13 years of service, so it was his testimonial. It saw a D&D 11 take on a Richard Brandt 11, and there were 8 goals evenly shared come the full-time whistle. Well, I spoke to Richard about the occasion and asked him if it was a special moment for him when he walked onto the pitch.
Very honoured and humbled that the club would go to great lengths really to put that on, and obviously appreciate the people from both teams that agreed to play, and it was really nice occasion.
And there would have been some players there who haven't set foot on a football pitch in quite some time.
Yeah.
Did you see a few rolling back the years?
Yeah, I went looking through the archives and picked out a team that played with in the past. Some boys haven't played for 4 years, 3 years, myself 2 years. So it was and I wanted to put us a test against the first team, so it was an interesting occasion.
And for those who aren't aware, it was quite a high-scoring game, and you yourself got a hat-trick, I believe.
Yeah, it's not about me though, Chris, it's about the team. But yeah, it was 4-4 at the end. A dubious penalty given in my favour towards the very end to make it 4-4. But high-scoring game, and played in a good and competitive spirit as well from both teams.
In your time at D&D, you've been obviously a player, you've been club captain, first team manager, junior coach, Cal Cup manager, combi manager, senior coach, just about every role imaginable. How much does the club mean to you?
A lot, I think. I don't know, I was only 19 when I started playing for the Douglas District, and I think immediately just fell in love with the people associated with the club, the players, the committee members, and then just gone on from there really, and just trying to make things better on and off the pitch, and just took responsibility on a few roles and went from there really.
What would you say your biggest achievement at D&D is?
Probably the setting up the junior team. Not personally, I did it with Andrew Gosnell and Chris Bowers back in 2012 really, starting that from, I think our first session had 4, and now there's boys and girls teams from under 6 all the way to under 12. So, and that's just been carried on by great work by like Richard Sparks, Adrian Higgins, etc. So it's that would probably be the biggest development at the club of the last 5 years. So it's definitely a decent achievement for everyone at the club really for that.
So 13 years at the club, you've just had a testimonial. What do you have in store for the next 13 years?
Nothing now. That's me done. I'm 32. A few injuries. I think I'm just going to sit back and just watch it and become a spectator.
That was Richard Brandt, D&D. It was his testimonial last Sunday, and all the best to him in his new chapter in life. The focus now, though, turns to Corinthians, the league leaders in the Canada Life Premier League, and I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Danny McMahon, Sean Doyle and Tom Callister, as well as Ryan Mepham. And we'll start with you, Danny. This is a Corinthians side not lost since a 2-0 defeat to Old Boys on the 4th of November last year. That sounds very good, but you haven't played since the 13th of January. But all in all, things are going quite well for you.
They are. It's improving steadily. I mean, we had a little bit of a dip there around that part of the season. I was away with myself at work, so I'll take the majority of the blame on that, to be honest. It's all my fault for being away, but we're a work in progress, to be honest. We're quite a young team, so we've been steadily improving the whole way along, and we're kicking along nicely now and looking forward to some of the bigger games coming along.
Well, going very well for a work in progress. Joint on 34 points at the top of the league with Peel, but a superior goal difference, and it's the man to your left who has scored a lot of those goals. No, sorry, not Tom. I was talking about Sean. Sean, you've scored 14 goals in 11 league games this season. What do you put your free scoring form down to?
Probably first of all being actually fit rather than an injury free for the first time in a while. But I think it's just the freedom to play, which the coaches have given us, DMAC, Ben, and as well as Joe Watney. I think just the freedom to go out there, enjoy yourself, and back everyone on the pitch and play the way we know we can, sort of thing.
Is it a very attacking philosophy?
It can cost us at times, it can bite us in the backside, but We are an attacking, confident team, so yeah, it's working wonders at the minute.
And Danny, what would you say your management style is like? I mean, do you go all out, go for the jugular early on in games, or do you tend to sit back when you've got a sort of 2-goal lead? What is your mindset?
I think that might have cost us in one game in particular this season, where we were playing St Mary's and we were 3-0 at half time. I mean, they're a very good team. We won't get ahead of ourselves, but we came out and we probably should have sat in. We probably should have been a bit smarter, but we kept going. So we're learning in that respect, but we are quite attacking. And if we score 3, we want to score another 3 as fast as we can. But I think that's part of what I was saying about the work in progress. We need to be a bit cuter in that regard, and we're trying to drill that in training, trying to learn little tricks of the trade like the likes of old boys have. You know, they can see out a game. We need to develop that, and we're working on it, and it's happening in training a lot. So we are quite gung ho, but we're trying to curve it slightly. Not too much? Is
that the sort of inexperience, or when you talk of work in progress?
Yeah.
And you mentioned old boys there; they're able to see out a game. They've probably got a bit more experience in that regard. Is that something that you're trying to instill in your players?
Yes, definitely. I mean, we're a very young team. I think the average age is like 22.5 or something like that, and that's with a few of the older lads, you know. I'm sure they won't mind me mentioning Daz Kane and Blaine Slattery. You know, they bring the age up quite significantly. So we are a very young team, 17-year-olds and what have you in there, and even myself, like, you know, quite young in the job, but we're trying to drill it in every day, and the lads are picking it up, and I'm picking it up as we go. So hopefully the second half of the season we'll see a bit more of that. And
Tom, let's bring you in here. Where do you fit on this experience scale?
Well, as I was called by Tony Mepham, I'm the terrier in the middle, just runs like a headless chicken and tries to break play up. Don't score many goals, but I work my hardest, and that's all I do really. So
for the most part of the season, it's been quite fun to watch for you.
Yeah, pretty much. You know, when you've got someone like Sean up front, you've got the attacking options we have is pretty ridiculous. We've probably got the 2 best wingers on the island, I reckon. Well, young Luke Murray's only 18, and he is absolutely fantastic. We've got Dan Simpson as well, who can turn any fullback inside out. And when you've got Sean Doyle in the box, you know, no one's going to beat him in there, are they? Especially someone like me. So, yeah, it's fantastic.
And Sean, yourself, Steve Whitley and Danny Gerrard, between you 3 have scored more than 7 other teams as a whole in the league so far this season. So it's no surprise where your main success is coming. But your defence is the best in the league as well. So, I mean, that is a recipe for success.
Mm-hmm.
I think, as you said there, we've got a very good, strong defence. The thing which is good to see is that obviously Cameron's just came back from America, Tom Smith just joined this year, and we're all a young team. And to have such a solid centre-back partnership so young and to stop being so strong, it's kind of good to see, and it sets us up well for the future. So as D-Mac said now, it's just all about getting the experience and sort of trying to kick on and improve and tweak little areas which we aren't as strong in at the minute, and then carry on going forward.
And top of the league, does this represent your best ever chance to date of winning a league title?
From a personal point of view, I wouldn't like to get ahead of ourselves. I think at the minute I still see Geordies as a team to beat. Peel are a very strong side. I think we've still got a lot of big games to go and big teams to play. So at the minute we've had a lot of games called off, and we haven't really played the bigger teams as of yet. So we kind of need to see how we get on in them games first before we can stop, I think, and winning the league. I think it's take each week as it comes, really, isn't it?
To be honest, I don't even look at the other teams at the moment. I'm just focusing on what we're doing in training and taking each week as it goes. I know it's a cliche and what have you, but it's the only thing you can control is yourself. So that's all we're working on. And like I said, Ben and June are really instilling that in us, and we work every week. We put great work in now. Like it's 3 hours a week, and out the wind and the rain and the hail, and we're definitely heading the right direction. But it's a work in progress. And
I think all that is due this weekend. So there's some doubt cast over the game. Tom, how frustrating is it as a player when it gets to Saturday? You want to be out there playing, don't you? You don't want the day off. You'd rather be out there on the football pitch.
Well, I think the most frustrating part about a game being called off is if it was called off, say, midweek, your manager would have enough time to plan a training session, get somewhere booked. But unfortunately, we either find out the day before or in some cases at like 10 o'clock on a Saturday morning, which means at 11 o'clock we're usually at the gas steps. No one wants to be there during the week, never mind being there Saturday 11 in the morning. So it's really frustrating, but sometimes you just got to get on with it, unfortunately.
Is fitness one of the key things you're keen to improve at Corinthians?
Yeah, we've definitely, I mean, it's always been fairly strong, but over the last couple of years we've definitely taken it up a few notches, and especially this season. It's not just road running. It's not just let's go out for a 6 mile run. It's specific stuff that June and Ben are really helping us with, and it's more dynamic and SAQ based. And I think we've seen that in results, and the amount of goals we scored late in games as well. We've really turned the screw on teams. It's definitely paying dividends, and it's to be honest, it's the gap between say the top 4 and the rest is a lot of it. I mean, a lot of it's due to ability, but a lot of it's due to fitness as well. So yeah, it's very important for us, and something we've definitely improved.
So how hard is your job then, Danny? Because you're scoring a hatful of goals, you're not conceding that many at the other end. It must be quite difficult for you to say to the players, well, you need to improve this.
No, there's always something. Yeah, even we beat Governors, whatever the score it was there recently in the FA Cup, and fair play to them. They put a great fight up and they kept going to the end. But there's always things you see, even in those kind of games, where you need to improve on. And yeah, we're always kicking on, and I think that's the only way you're going to do well and win things, I think, isn't it?
And it's the FA Cup, round 2 or attempt number 2 at playing the fixture this weekend against Laxey. Is that high on your list of priorities this season as well?
Oh, definitely, yeah, definitely. We'd love to go cup run. I mean, in the past, I've been in this about 3 or 4 years now, and we always seem to get Geordies in the first or second round, and that's when, yeah, they were very dominant when they were beating us by 6 or 7 goals. So we'd love to get a go cup run, even to get to a final or whatever, just and take it from there. But it'd be great, yeah. So we're focusing out just each game as it comes, but it would be great. It's a great day out, and it's something to aim at.
And speaking to a couple of the Laxey boys last week, they were eager to get playing against you in the FA Cup, having a real go at you. That they feel that they can cause, I suppose it would be an upset, you being top of the league. I don't know about giant killing in terms of the fact that they're quite close to you in the league standings. What do you make of the quality of opposition in Manx football this season?
Well, in terms of Laxey, in the cup last season, we actually they took us to extra time, I believe it was, and we a very rare Conor Gorman goal in the last few minutes of extra time. So they are a brilliant team as well. Start of the season, we played them, and it was 1-0. It was a very close game again, and it's not like we're rolling teams every single week in, week out. I mean, we've lost to Old Boys. Peel, yeah, we lost to Peel as well, and that was a very tight game once again. And a few teams have given us a good run for our money, like Douglas Athletic as well, with their little pitch up there at Paul Rose. They know what we're about now, so they set up very defensively, and it is incredibly hard to break teams down when they know what you're about. But we've got DMAC, Watney, and Ben, and they are working on things in training to hopefully improve that. So we'll just see as the season goes on, really.
Only 2 defeats in the league this season. Both have come at home. Is that just one of those things, or is there added pressure playing at Ballafletcher?
I don't think that, to be honest. I think the Peel game was rearranged for the ball, and I think that was just some errors. We gifted them 3 goals, really. And the Old Boys game, they came in, they sat in, they did a job on us in that game. They were very professional, and I think it was the day that the stand first got put up, and sometimes things like that can get you a bit, you can get a bit over emotional. So I think it's more in our heads than anything else. And I love playing at home. I think it's a great pitch, and yeah, we're well used to it. So I don't think it's anything like that.
And since that stand's gone up, you've been scoring, if it's possible, even more goals. Yeah. I think it was 33 in the last 3 games in all competitions. Tony, is there a more entertaining side to watch in the Premier League this season? I suppose those who are of appeal persuasion would say that those in the West offer a more eye-pleasing performance on the day. But Corinthians, I mean, you're Corinthians man yourself, but scoring goals and being tight at the back, it's only going to get better for them.
I was having a conversation with Danny recently about this. I've been with Corinthians since 1977, and we've never been in this situation where we score so many goals. Whenever we play, say, as a Premier League side, a Division 2 side, we'd win like 2-1 or 3-1 or something like that. But the boys now just know no fear, and I think it's the expectations from Dewan, from Danny, and also from Ben is that they want 100% every game, and if you don't put it in, then you're going to have a problem. Because if you look at the combination side, they're second in the league at the moment, and those players are breathing down Sean and Tom's necks to get into that team because they want to be part of it. But it's just lovely to watch the way they play football. And I remember last year when they beat Geordies at Geordies 4-3 at difficult times, because it wasn't long after we'd lost Lewis, and then suddenly Geordies had to play us. They had games in hand, but they had to play us at Ballyfletcher to win the league. And they took us apart. They ripped us apart 8-0. And that's where it's all learning for the boys. But there's one thing about them, and they don't get carried away. There's no prima donnas in there. They're all mates. They all go out together at the weekend. If someone's chips are down, they'll be there for them. And I think it's great when I look at like Ryan Burns. You know, Ryan didn't know where he was last year. He wasn't too happy with the game. And suddenly he's come in this year and give Danny a massive headache because Ryan has taken that right midfield role. But when you look at it, Corinthians are missing, sorry Sean, sorry Tom, their best player as well in Chrissy Cannell. He came back from the Ireland Games injured, and Chrissy is, to me, one of the best defenders on the Isle of Man. And when he comes back, then it puts more challenge on Tom and also Cameron to stay in that team.
You say you're all mates, which is a bonus. What would happen then if a team of St George's calibre came calling for your services? Is that a big temptation? Would you discuss it with the rest of the squad? Would you have to think about saying no? Or, I mean, how would you deal with that hypothetically? I mean, so some worried faces.
It's already happened. So I want to see how Sean answers it because it's already happened.
For me, it's a no-brainer. I think when I first joined, when I was looking to leave Milrown, when I first went into first division, if a team like Geordie's came knocking, obviously I don't feel like many players could turn a team like that down because they've won nearly enough everything over the last 10 years. But for me now, everything that's happened in the last 2 years, on and off the pitch, as well as how tight-knit of a group we are, I wouldn't ever think about leaving. It doesn't even cross my mind. It's the club I want to play for the rest of my football career, and I want to hopefully try and progress and win more and more things. And once we get Chris Cannell back, hopefully Josh Ryden's back from travelling in a not too distant future. So I want to carry on with my mates and try and win a few more things.
And that must be very encouraging for you to hear,
Yes.
as a manager, because we heard at the top of the hour from Richard Brandt, 13 years at D&D. Is it a rarity for a player to spend that much time at a club, or do you think it's not as rare as it is in obviously the professional game, because people do have emotional ties and friendship ties at certain clubs on the island?
Yeah. I think as you get outside of Douglas, it's a bit more common. Like Peel and Russian, and I think they kind of stay around that way a lot more. With Douglas, it's very easy to move clubs. I think, especially if one of your friends moves, it's very, very easy to move. But we haven't really lost many players recently. It's been the same group of lads there the whole time. People have moved and what have you, but it's mostly just to them wanting to play first team, or them, it's easing out of the game and wanting to do other things. The lads we want to keep are basically still here, and we're definitely pushing in the right direction. That's very encouraging, and the fact he's saying things like that, I mean, we speak to him all the time about things like that, but it's great that we have no real worries about people leaving.
And Tony was
people to join.
Well, this is it. Leading on to my next question, Tony mentioned the combi team before.
Yeah.
It seems you've got strength in depth if you need to dip into that pool of players in the second string.
Yeah, I consider from our team there's 21 lads who I consider first team players. I mean, that gives me an absolute awful headache every week, and a lot of tough conversations every week. It's a full-time job, but it's great because it's keeping people on their toes. They're training the whole time. That's what we need to drive people on. We don't really have many superstars, so it's about that group of lads kicking each other on, and it's great for the club in that regard. And they all know, I talk to them all the time, they all know they're all in with a shout. It's about taking a chance when they get it and just keep working away. It might not happen every week, but when you get a chance, come in and take it. And I know from those 21 lads, I can trust all of them to play first team football, so it's great in that regard.
And you touched on it before, there are a lot of clubs in Douglas, so is it a free-for-all when you see a young player coming through who's from the area and you think we need to secure him for the following season? I suppose the competition is quite high.
It is indeed, yeah. But we're trying to keep all the Corinthians lads first and foremost. That's our main priority. The likes of Luke Murray coming through, and there's a good batch of the actual first team now that have come through the ranks, and they are our first priority. But if other lads want to come up and train, we'll suss them out, and they'll suss us out, and we'll take it from there. The likes of Brodie Patience and Ronan O'Donnell or Ronan McDonald. Yeah, they've come up, and Tom Smith even, I could class him in that category. But as long as it's a good fit, and we're both going to get something from it, then even if they just want to train, we're more than happy with that, because we just want quality around and good lads, and we'll take it from there.
Now, you say you're taking it one game at a time, but at this stage in the season, and I know there have been a lot of postponements and only 14 games, played, but 34 points, sitting joint top of the league. That has to be your ambition. Anybody would say in your position that's got to be your ambition this season. How much will you be kicking yourselves if you do fall at the final hurdle, or you get pipped to the post, and you look back to those couple of defeats and the draw, and you think, if we'd have just stayed focused, what might have been?
Well, I don't think it's a case of not being focused, because we've been completely focused the whole time. But of course, the only chance we really assess a lot was at the end of the season, because literally, as I said there, we just take one game. And I know that's a cliche, but that's all you can do really, and just focus on yourself, take one game at a time. And you say it is the aim. Everyone's saying, "Oh, my aim is to win every single game," and that's it. You just take that one game at a time. If trophies come after that, then they do, and that's that. Of course, that's the aim. That's every footballer's aim, isn't it? So.
No, I do believe you when you say you're taking it one game at a time. Trust me. I think when we get towards the business end of the season, if you like, that's when we'll know obviously more about who is in the frame to lift the trophy at the end of the season. Who do you class as your main rivals for it? Because obviously Peel are second at the moment, joint on points, but St George's still set the bar high, and if they win their games in hand, they will be top.
Well, I think definitely Geordies. You look at their track record; it is absolutely phenomenal. They've won. I think they've done the treble. Is it 3 years in a row?
Not treble. We've won.
They've
The
won a
league,
lot.
I think, is something like 10 times in 12 years.
We've
or something
forgotten they've
like
won
that.
that many.
Yeah,
things.
exactly. So when you look at something like that, they're always going to be top of the pecking order, really. And I think their experience plays a big part. Like we say, we've got a young squad of lads, and when you look at them, some of their age, they're 32, 33, and you think they're going to be coming to the end of their career, and they are still at the top of the game. And when you come up against someone like that, it is really difficult to get past that. But we are working hard, so hopefully in the near future, maybe even the season, we don't know. Like we said, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. But
It was a question I posed to Chris Bass Senior before Christmas when we had him on the programme. I asked him, I said, have some of your players, now that they've won all the trophies and all the silverware that they have over the years, have they lost a bit of that hunger, a bit of that desire? Do you, as players, have a point to prove and say, we are the new generation, the next generation of players who are the superstars of Manx football?
I guess in a way, I wouldn't say they lost that hunger, because even when you speak to the players that who obviously play for Geordies, they quite often laugh and joke about how people have said they've been finished for the last 4 or 5 years and they've just won the Grand Slam last season. So I don't think their hunger's gone. I think it's now for a time for us to now, if we're gonna, because at the age we are now, Geordies were already winning things. So it's now his time for us to step up to the mark and try and compete, knock them off the perch. But like I said, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves and say we're going to win everything this year and then for the next 10 years. It's best to set small targets week by week or month by month, and then from there try and progress.
I can tell you Mr. Bass categorically denied that any of his players had lost the hunger or the desire to win when he replied to that question. Danny, how do you keep the players' feet on the ground if it gets towards that stage where it seems possible, it seems a real reality that you are closing in on a First League title?
Well, I'm going to say it again, but you've got to focus on every game at a time. I mean, I know a lot of the Geordies lads, I know that hunger's not gone, because that'll never go from them until, they can't run anymore. That's the only time that's going to go from them, because I know them well, and people could say that's gone. It's definitely not. They're still a team to beat, and that's it, and they set the bar, and you've got to match that. You've got to match the determination and that motivation to get anywhere near them, because they've got a lot of very good players as well. So to get anywhere near them, you've got to match that first and foremost. But I'd have to cross that bridge when I come to it, to be honest. I mean, I have a few ideas up my sleeve, but you've got to keep focusing on the game. You can't think about it too much. You can't think about what's going on outside. It's been massive for Corinthians, all that kind of stuff. Even leading the Charity Shield, never won a cup. But you just don't think about it. You can't think about it. All you can think about is playing football and take it from there.
Well, I can say from a neutral perspective, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how the season develops. Going on tomorrow's game against Laxey, Sean, Tom, who are you most looking forward to coming up against?
To be honest, there's not a lot of their team who I've had battles with in the past, so there's not really anyone I look forward to coming up against in terms of looking forward to having a battle. To be honest, for me, I just want to play a game. I'm sick of having Saturdays not knowing what to do with myself. I just want to play the game now. I want to get out there and enjoy ourselves, and hopefully the football will take care of itself.
Tom?
I'm not sure about anyone in particular, but what I do enjoy about Laxey, I can't think of the names. There's young Matty Wilkinson, who's to watch him, he's a brilliant footballer. He's captain of the under-18s. There's George, I can't remember his second name. In the middle, he's another brilliant player. And is it Joey
Walters?
Once again, like them three are absolutely brilliant. They're great to watch, so be interesting to play against them and see what that's like.
It's also a bit frustrating because it seems though every time we play Andy Ball, no matter what team he plays for, he switches between every team up in the north. But every time I come up against him, he always seems to have an absolute blinder of a game. So fingers crossed he's off his game tomorrow.
We shall see. I pray the game is on. Let's have our fingers crossed. Danny McMahon, Sean Doyle, Tom Callister.
That's the one.
It is Callister. I do apologise wholeheartedly.
No problem.
Tom Callister, thank you very, very much for coming on the programme this evening. It's been an absolute pleasure. Corinthians, I'll leave you with this. Tony, as always, thank you very much as well.
My pleasure.
Corinthians have scored 4 or more in a game on 10 occasions this season. Can they make it 11 against Laxey in the FA Cup tomorrow? Well, the only place to find out is right here on Manx Radio. But wherever you're playing this weekend, wherever you're watching sport, football, rugby, hockey, even if you're going away, make sure it's a good one.